All right, you guys, welcome in. We got One Piece chapter 1152 brief spoilers. Bro, it's a Monday. What are we doing here? So if you haven't read the spoilers for yourself though yet, I will be linking it down in the pinned comment as well as typing it out down there in case you want to check it out there too. But hopping right into it, Gaban tells us, he starts off the chapter by telling us how to hurt the Holy Knights. Thank you, Gaban. I mean, I thought it would have been blasphemous if he sent the boys up to the Sun Realm and did not tell us how to hurt these dudes. And it turns out that the answer is indeed advanced Conqueror's Haki. But not the Conqueror's Haki that Luffy has utilized in the past. Gaban actually says that Luffy must improve his Conqueror's Haki. So there's another realm of Conqueror's Haki that Luffy apparently has not reached yet. Or at least that's what I inferred from these spoilers. And yeah, it's pretty insane. You know, this was always one of the more prominent answers out there. I was always very mixed on it. I didn't want it to be Conqueror's Haki because, you know, thinking about Conqueror's Haki being the answer, brother, that means that only a handful of people can actually fight the Holy Knights, right? Because Gaban, he says that there's one more person in the Straw Hat crew that can use Conqueror's Haki. Sanji hears this and he raises his hand, and Sanji thought that he was talking about him. But Gaban ends up turning around and talks to Zoro instead. And it's like, damn, like, so what does this mean? So the other Straw Hats are just useless this arc against the Holy Knights? Like Sanji can't do anything, you know, Jinbei can't do anything, Frankie can't do anything, Robin can't do anything. I think that's one of the main reasons why I was very hesitant on the answer being Conqueror's Haki, because that really limits the number of Straw Hats that are useful against them. And, you know, I get it, right? People are saying that the Holy Knights are not Straw Hat opponents. They're for the revolutionaries. Brother, the only revolutionary that has Conqueror's Haki right now is Dragon. You know, so when you say the Holy Knights are for the revs, it's like, okay, 90% of those guys are also useless since the answer is Conqueror's Haki. So I have sat down for a second and thought about this. Like, okay, since this is how we hurt them, maybe we just gather a group of Conqueror Haki users to fight them, which is something that I think could end up being really cool, and it could bring back former villains as allies, right? Like Katakuri, for a prime example, right? He has Conqueror's Haki. Doflamingo has Conqueror's Haki. I mean, hell, this could even make Kid relevant again because Kid has Conqueror's Haki. So maybe we do just gather a unique fighting force to attack the Holy Knights. I think that would be pretty awesome. As far as Sanji goes, you know, Oda kind of went out of his way to throw Sanji that L right there, but I do think Sanji will get it one day. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. You know, people are saying I'm coping, saying Sanji's gonna get Conqueror's Haki, but I do think there is a reason why Sanji was present during this conversation, why Sanji himself thought he had Conqueror's Haki. And of course, you know, Gaban is the Sanji parallel, and he's now confirmed to have Conqueror's Haki without a shadow of a doubt. So if Sanji gets a 2 in this arc or the next arc, yeah, I don't think it would be super shocking to me at least. So yeah. How do you guys feel about Conqueror's Haki being the answer? I'm warming up to it, right? Like I said, I wasn't on board before this chapter, but now that I'm like sitting around, you know, thinking about it, thinking about how we could get this unique fighting force together to fight the Holy Knights, I'm like, okay, that could be pretty solid. Like no shot, 2 more I just thought of would be, 1, Yamato, right? Yamato has Conqueror's Haki, bring Yamato back. And then there's Boa Hancock. Boa Hancock has a bone to pick with Celestial Dragons. There we go. If Boa Hancock shows up, she could also help us fight the Holy Knights. So I do think having a ragtag force of Conqueror's Haki users could be pretty cool. But now I'm just hoping that the other Straw Hats, right? You know, the Frankies, the Robins, the Usopps, and Namis, I hope they do find something on the side to do. Because now it's just like we're pushing them into the shadow, right? But we'll see. But yeah, let me know how you guys feel about the Conqueror's Haki reveal. What do you think about Sanji? What do you think about, you know, Conqueror's Haki being the answer? And also, what does improving your Conqueror's Haki even look like? I'm honestly not too sure, man. But now, moving on to the next bullet point, they talk about Loki joining the Straw Hat Pirates. Yes, that is right. Luffy extends the Straw Hat invitation to Loki. Bro, what? See, it's funny because Luffy's a really good judge of character. So Luffy asking Loki to join, I think that does mean a lot. Of course, one of the main reasons why he's doing this is so that Harald would let Luffy release Loki from his handcuffs and his chains, but it looks like nobody's really going for it. Because the spoilers say that Loki, Harald, Zoro, and Sanji do not agree, right? Not even Loki agrees with this plan. So I do not think Loki is going to join the crew, but I like that Oda teased the idea, right? I like that he teased it. But with that being said, though, I think one way or another, we will end up releasing Loki from his handcuffs pretty soon. And I think that is one of the main reasons why we get the start of the King Herald Elbaf flashback this chapter. That is right. So Gaban tells the whole gang here that him and Shanks were present in Elbaf during that terrible day. And the flashback begins 14 years ago. Loki goes to the castle to ask King Herald why he decided to align with the world government, the ones that killed Rox D. Zebek. Also, that was like a little sneak, right? Oh, by the way, the WG killed Rox D. Zebek. Like, Loki just kind of threw that in there. But when Loki arrived at the castle, he finds out that King Herald has been pierced by his own soldiers. This man was stabbed in the back. Yeah, that is a grueling scene to say the least, right? So, according to the spoilers, it doesn't say explicitly if King Herald is dead at this point. I wouldn't be shocked if he's still alive and maybe, you know, him and Loki work together for a little bit before he dies. Maybe King Herald spills the beans as to what's happening. But yeah, King Herald was attacked by his own soldiers. And we don't know why, right? We don't know if that's because they didn't like the world government idea, or if maybe they coerced King Herald into joining the WG, and then after he did that, that is when they killed him. I think there's still a lot left up in the air, but we do have it right here confirmed that Loki did not kill King Herald. He's not the one who stabbed first, right? So now it just kind of makes me wonder about Yarul. Yarul was one of the main characters that corroborated the story that Loki killed King Herald. Brother, that didn't happen. Like, what's going on here? Of course, like I said, King Herald isn't dead yet, so maybe Loki joins in and attacks his dad, but I don't know, right? Like, we need the panels in front of us before we can really say anything definitely. But yeah, King Herald was betrayed, but who knows? You know, maybe this is what King Herald wanted, right? We don't know exactly where he stands yet. Like, on one hand, he was working with the WG, but on the other hand, he was also building schools and, you know, not training warriors like the WG wanted. So King Herald is still really mixed right now, in my opinion. But it looks like he's going down in a really sad way. So we go on and we find out that Shanks told Gaban that he bonded with King Herald, so Shanks wanted to meet him again. But that is when a mysterious figure stole the legendary devil fruit in Elbaf. Huh? I read that and I was like, wait, what? Wait, what do you mean they stole the legendary devil fruit? Didn't Loki eat it? And that is when everything starts making sense. So we talked about this a long time ago, but I thought this theory was in the dirt. But I thought that the legendary devil fruit was going to be the sun god Nika fruit. And that makes the most sense, right? The giants worship sun god Nika, so sun god Nika should be the devil fruit. But we know that Luffy ate it, and Loki ate the legendary devil fruit. So what is going on here? Does this mean that whatever Loki ate was a fake? Did Loki eat a different devil fruit and everybody was just none the wiser? I think so. Because when you think about the timeline of it all, right? King Herald was murdered 14 years ago. And then 13 years ago, Shanks attacked Cypherpole, attacked Who's Who, and took the Gomu Gomu no Mi for himself. And then, of course, it ended up in Luffy's hands, and then Luffy ate it. So I do think that the mysterious figure might have been Who's Who, and that is why Shanks went after him. Like, I feel like that makes the most sense, but I'm still kind of questioning it, right? But to play devil's advocate with myself, there is also a chance that Loki was the mysterious figure and he ate the devil fruit, right? Because Shanks eventually fought Loki too and then brought him back to Elbaf. So who's to say that Loki wasn't the guy they were looking for, right? Oh, mysterious figure ate the devil fruit. I heard it was Loki. Shanks beats Loki, brings him back to Elbaf. I just, brother, you know, like there's a lot of mystery here. And now I'm just like, yo, like what does Loki have? Like, does he really have that legendary devil fruit? Or is it really just a random fruit that Loki ate? I don't know. But yes. So within this flashback, though, we hit up another flashback and we go farther back into the past. This time, 109 years in the past. And we could see a young and wild Herald rampaging through a human kingdom. Yeah, we're getting it now. Which is kind of funny, right? Because last chapter, we ended off with Emu releasing that Conqueror's Haki blast. And then Luffy, Loki, Harald, they were like, whoa, like, we understand. Like, we gotta go. And then in this chapter, we're like sitting around a campfire, you know, tossing around flashbacks. I love that, dude. You know, before you can fight the villain, you gotta learn about the past real quick. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it, dude. I am excited to see what the heck is going on with King Herald. Was he good? Was he bad? What happened with his horns? Why did his soldiers kill him? I gotta know. You know, this is a mystery that's kind of been pressing on all of our minds. And I'm here for it, brother. I am here for it. But with that being said, though, guys, let me know what you thought about this chapter. How do you feel about all these major reveals, I would say, right? Like the Conqueror's Haki reveal. We learned that King Herald was killed by his own soldiers. And then the whole thing about the mysterious devil fruit being taken by a mysterious figure. Was it who's who? Was it Loki? Was it some other holy knight? You guys let me know what you think down below. I would love to hear all those comments. And I will catch you guys in the next day or two whenever the extra spoilers end up releasing. Until then, though, you guys take care, stay safe, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace out. Alright, I lied. Another spoiler actually just dropped the minute I hit end recording. But it turns out that the theories were possibly correct. But the mark we saw on Saint Sommer's arm, that crazy big tattoo, that's apparently the mark of the Abyss. And not just that, but Shanks had that mark on his arm. The theory that the Lord of the Coast ate Shanks's mark of the Abyss are actually true. What? Shanks had the mark of the Abyss. He had the WG mark on his arm at the time when he met Gabon. That's what PewPews just posted. How? How does he have that? When he was born, he was put in a treasure chest. Roger got that chest, and then he raised Shanks. So what? Like, did Shanks go back? I mean, well, we do know that Shanks went back home at one point. He went to the WG. But did Shanks get the mark of the Abyss while he was up there? Is that what happened? I mean, that's the only real scenario, right? Unless Shanks just, you know, inherently got it later on in life. Like, you know, he grew up and then the mark just grew with him. Like, I don't know. Like, was Shanks a world government operative? Was he working with the Holy Knights and the Celestial Dragons? I feel like I can't see Shanks doing that, especially now that we have Shamrock, right? Beforehand, when people are like, oh, you know, Shanks is an op, Shanks is evil, that was all mainly because of Shamrock. But now that we have Shamrock, it's like, okay, Shanks is good. But now we learned that he had the mark of the Abyss, and it's like, okay, wait, like, did they do that to him forcefully? Did he ask for the mark of the Abyss? Wow. You know, I wasn't expecting, like, another major drop just like that. Like, I literally just ended the video. And I already thought this chapter was crazy. But PewPews was like, hey, one more for the road, guys. But yes, let me know what you think about that down below. I think it's kind of cool now that we know that, you know, the Lord of the Coast ate the mark. I do wonder if that was, like, intentional then, right? Shanks was like, hey, like, I want to get rid of this arm. Why not do it right here, right? Like, why not? Like, he probably could have defeated the Lord of the Coast without losing his arm, but it could have just been on purpose, right? He's like, oh, like, I could easily punch this guy. I can easily use my Conqueror's Haki, but two birds, one stone. You know, take my arm, brother. I think that's what it is. And also, at that point in time, right, 14 years ago, Shanks had his crew. His crew was around. So did they also know about the Mark of the Abyss? They must have. They must have known. But yeah. Well, that also, wait. We saw Shanks' arm, right? Am I crazy? I feel like we saw Shanks' arms whenever he was talking to Luffy in like episode 1, right? Shanks, Busha Village. I guess I could just look up an image. Yeah, we saw Shanks' like forearms and he never had the Mark of the Abyss. So maybe the mark was just up here? Like maybe Somers' mark is just a lot more detailed and longer because he's been with them longer. But for Shanks, it was just like, I don't know, on his shoulder perhaps? Because we've seen Shanks', I'm looking at Shanks' forearms. He has no tattoos, man. Oh, wait, but it is a mark. It is like a magical mark. So there is a chance that maybe the mark only appears when they want it to. Like, yeah, I think that's plausible, right? Like magical tattoos, right? Like, you know, they don't appear in the sunlight, or, ooh, they only appear when I want them to, or only when I activate its powers. I think that could be it. Yeah, I think that's it. That's my headcanon right now. What the hell? What a reveal, man. What? But with that being said, again, catch you guys later. Thanks for staying for the addendum here. But peace out, y'all. I'm here for a third time. I don't know what's going on. Every time I end this damn video, just I realize there's one more tweet I missed out on. You know, typically, like, when you get the brief spoilers, it's that one page and it's done. And sometimes we do get additional spoilers from Red On, right? Or Pew Piece, or Scotch Informer even. But they're not anything I want to come back for. But I feel like this plot point, again, is pretty important because it is about Shanks. But 14 years ago, while we see the Mark of the Abyss on Shanks, Shanks and Gaban talk a little bit. They're relaxing. And Shanks mentioned that he actually wanted to form a pirate crew with Buggy, but he couldn't. Gaban said, "It's because you are the destined one." What? It turns out that, you know, Shanks and Buggy could have been a thing. And it's kind of sad because, like, back during... It wasn't Roger's execution, but it was back when Roger came back after finding out what Laugh Tale was. You know, Roger and Shanks had a little conversation on the side, and then Shanks started crying because of that. And then afterwards, right, Buggy was like, "Hey, Shanks, you know, let's do our thing. Let's find the One Piece on our own." And then Shanks turned down the offer. And Buggy was distraught. You know, Buggy was disappointed in Shanks when that happened. And it's sad now knowing that Shanks might have not had a choice. But also, calling Shanks the destined one, the destined boy, what does that even mean? You know, what is Shanks' role in this entire story? Is it because he's a celestial dragon? Does it have to do with his bloodline? Is he the person that Joy Boy is waiting for? We don't know. You know, I feel like I say that all the time, but we really just don't know. You know, Shanks, he really wanted to be with Buggy, but he couldn't. And for whatever reason, now he's going after the One Piece. He had the Mark of the Abyss. I think it does have to do with his lineage. It has to do with the fact that he's like probably a special celestial dragon. Maybe Emu can only be defeated by another celestial dragon, and that is why Shanks is prophesized. He is the destined one, because he's the only one who can take up that mantle. I'm not too sure. You know, when you think about destined characters, you think about characters like Shirahoshi, right? The mermaid princess that is only born once every couple hundred years. That is a destined one. Are we putting Shanks on that same level? I mean, we are, right? I mean, power-wise, he is, but, like, what prophecy is Shanks fulfilling here? And it's also kind of funny thinking back, because Shanks is, like, one of Oda's favorite characters, right? When you go back to, like, Romance Dawn and all of Oda's mock-ups about One Piece, Shanks is, like, a consistent character. So, yeah, Shanks being this important, I think makes sense. But I would also love your guys' take on this. What does Gaban mean when he calls Shanks the destined one? Because that's a hefty title. That is a hefty ass title. But again, for the third time, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. I'm not coming back again.